Look at the
In the
screen
eddies,
right now.
trout.
This
Gotcha,
carp
you
weighs
beauty.
14 kilograms.
Back.
It is 2 a.m. Deep shadow, icy water.
Secure
It
the
was
bacon
caught on
onto
a
the
bait
barb,
that most
like
of you
this.
pass by in the
Ensure the
grocery store every week without even giving it a glance. Welcome to the place where we don't believe in advertising, but believe in facts and check what really works on wild waters.
Section
In
3.
the next 20
Identification of
minutes,
natural
we will
baits,
analyze 20
worms,
bait
dough balls, and
options
grain.
that consistently outfish trendy methods and cost mere pennies. I will explain to you why even those men who have been sitting on the shore for 40 years continue to ignore these things. Some of these baits are in your refrigerator right now, others cost less than a loaf of bread. And each of them brought me fish larger than those designer boilies for $1,500 per pack that they push on you in fishing stores. Why is the industry silent about this? The answer will surprise you, and I will give it very soon. Before we move on to the list, think about which of these baits you have tried, and which seems like complete nonsense to you. Write in the comments. I read each of them. Let's be honest. The fishing industry doesn't sell you bait. It sells you the idea that without their expensive plastic and chemistry, you won't catch anything. A kilogram of elite boilies costs like a trip to a restaurant, and a can of corn is 30 rubles. Both catch fish, but only one of them empties your wallet. Guess what they won't write about in glossy magazines? This is a real conspiracy of marketers against common sense. To understand where we took a wrong turn, let's look back. Remember the 70s and 80s in the USSR. On the banks of the Dnieper, Volga, Don, or Irtysh, there were no stores with English tackle. Our grandfathers caught on what was at hand: oil cake, makuha, salapinka porridge, unrefined oil with the smell of seeds that spread for hundreds of meters. In the post-war years, fishing was not a hobby. It was a way to survive, to feed the family in ruined villages and cities. And then, the fish bit. Why? Because the traditions of fishing on the rivers of Russia, Ukraine, and Kazakhstan were built on an understanding of biology, not on the thickness of a catalog. Carp is a vacuum cleaner. Its brain is programmed to search for energy. And now the carp has a so-called olfactory rosette. This is its organ of smell, which is hundreds of times more sensitive than a human nose. It is capable of detecting one drop of amino acid in a volume of water equal to several Olympic pools. A modern boilie is stuffed with synthetics: strawberry, pineapple, tutti frutti. For you, it smells delicious, but for an old, experienced carp that has already been on the hook a couple of times, this smell is like a flashing red lamp. Dangerous. Natural baits give a chemical signal of ordinary food that is not associated with risk. First on our list is ordinary canned corn. Yellow grains in a tin can. This is the base. This is a classic. I caught on it in the lower reaches of the Volga, on the lakes of Belarus, and in the floodplains of the Kuban. It works everywhere. A wild carp may never see corn in its life, but it will eat it. Why? Because it hits all the stimulation points: bright color, high sugar content, soft texture, and salt from the brine. Biologists call this a taste-feeding response. Carp receptors are located not only in the mouth, but also on the barbels, on the lips, and even on the skin around the head. A grain of corn lights them all up simultaneously. The mistake of most: feeding too much. The fish gets full and ignores your hook. Grains on a hair. That's all you need. Number 2. White bread. That same loaf that your grandfather took in a canvas bag. The industry hates the fact that a 15-kilo carp can be taken on a piece of dough for 20 rubles. In the legendary heat of 1976, and in our dry seasons on the green ponds of the Moscow region or the Chernozem rivers, bread remains king. Pinch the crust. Wrap the crumb around the hook, and you have the perfect floating bait. Bread releases yeast compounds that mimic the smell of fermented organics. For a fish, this is a signal. It's safe here. Here is familiar food. Number 3. Stale bread. And this is a secret that many have forgotten. Bread 3 days old, which has begun to dry slightly and ferment, works in the water 40 minutes longer than fresh. The yeast continues the reaction. Starch breaks down more slowly. In the clear water of small rivers, this pulls fish from a distance of 20 meters. A smart fisherman does not throw away crackers. He puts them in the bag. Number 4. Sausages. Yes, those same cheap grilling sausages. Cut them into circles of 1 centimeter. A huge amount of salt and fat is a magnet for catfish and large carp, especially in the muddy water of reservoirs after rain, when visibility drops to 0. Fat creates an oily spot on the surface, which is carried by the wind. This is a chemical trail that the fish follows like a navigator. Count it yourself. 1 piece of sausage costs pennies, and in terms of effectiveness in dirty water, it beats any expensive pop-up. Nature does not tolerate falsehood. If you understand the mechanisms of the bite, you don't need golden tackle. You catch with your brains, not your wallet. Knowledge passed from father to son is confirmed by biology today. And this is only the beginning of our journey. We are just warming up. There are still 16 positions ahead, from which the palms of fishing store sellers sweat. But remember, theory without practice is just a vibration of the air. You need to go and check it on the water. Continuing our list, and number 5 on it, what they call spam in the West. And we know it as classic canned ham or tourist's breakfast. This pink substance in rectangular tin is a real nightmare for manufacturers of branded ground baits. In England, more record carp have been caught on it than on any other store-bought bait. And on the lower Volga, and in the channels of the Don, it has been a secret weapon for trophy catfish and carp for decades. Why does it work? Fat, salt, and dense animal protein. A small cube of such ham will sit on your hair for 8 to 9 hours, constantly exuding aroma. Most anglers of your age remember this taste from the hiking sandwiches of childhood, but it rarely occurred to anyone to put this on a hook. And in vain. The next position may sound like complete nonsense until you try it. Number 6. Marshmallows. Those same white marshmallows that children roast on a fire. The most cautious professors of our paid ponds and wild lakes of Kazakhstan or the Moscow region, who have seen all types of boilies and pop-ups, without hesitation suck in 1 white marshmallow on a number 8 hook. There are 2 reasons. First, buoyancy. It lifts the bait exactly into the horizon where the carp feeds, preventing it from falling into the silt or hiding in the grass. The second is sweetness. This is a signal of easily accessible carbohydrates. Small fish like roach or silver bream simply cannot swallow this marshmallow, and you automatically cut off the small fry, waiting for the real master of the reservoir. A bag costs pennies, and inside are hundreds of ready-made floating baits. Number 7. Hunting sausages or a spicy, dry-cured braid. This method came from European tournament sports of the late 90s, when fish in pressured waters began to shy away from standard aromas. The sharp, spicy smell pierces the water column even in stagnant water. Capsaicin, the compound that makes peppers hot, causes an investigative reaction in carp. Fish do not have the same pain receptors as we do. They do not feel burning in our sense. They feel novelty. And in a wild reservoir, where fish have been stuffed with the same corn for years, novelty is the key to success. Number 8. Wet cat food. I know how it sounds, but think logically. The same level of protein, the same fats and amino acids that make cats go crazy, work underwater too. Roll dense balls out of the pâté, add a little semolina for viscosity, and coat the sinker with this. In the water, this composition begins to slowly disintegrate, creating a trail that stretches for tens of meters downstream. One bag of food, and you have an attractant for a whole night session. Moving on to the classics that have been undeservedly forgotten. Number 9. Hard cheese, like Russian or Dutch. This secret was known by grandfathers on the Dnieper, even before the word carp fishing appeared in the lexicon. Cut mature cheese into cubes of 1 centimeter. Lactic acid and salt mimic the chemical trail of decaying organics on the bottom. This is an irresistible temptation for large chub and carp, especially in summer when the water warms above 20 degrees and chemical processes in the water accelerate. Number 10. Cornflakes, an ordinary breakfast from a box. If you grind them and mix them with water to a paste state, you will get the cheapest and most effective ground bait on the planet. Maltose, a natural malt sugar, causes the fish's brain to signal, "Eat more. There is a lot of energy here." Modern mixtures for 1,000 rubles try to imitate exactly this effect, and you can get it almost for free. Now let's take a pause and figure out why all this works from the point of view of ichthyology. Have you ever wondered how a fish sees the world? Water is a dense medium where vision is secondary. The main tool for survival is chemical analysis. In cyprinid fish, receptors are scattered all over the body. Imagine that you are walking down the street and feel the smell of fresh shish kebab with your entire skin surface. That's how a carp feels your bait. When you use a branded boilie, you offer the fish a sterile product created in a laboratory. But an old carp living in the snags of the Ob or Volga for 15-20 years is a surviving veteran. He has seen hundreds of your rigs. For him, the smell of artificial strawberry is the smell of death, and the smell of bread, sausage, or corn is the smell of garbage that accidentally fell into the water. It does not cause suspicion. This is the main secret of trash baits. Fish are not afraid of food. They are afraid of a trick. We have passed the equator of our list, and now we are approaching the most serious level. Number 11. Tiger nut. In fact, this is not a nut, but the tubers of a plant that we sometimes call chufa. In Europe, this is a legend on which thousands of trophies have been caught, but our anglers often look at it as an exotic. After soaking and boiling, the nut becomes sweet, crunchy, and almost eternal. Small fish cannot bite through it. 3 nuts on a hare will wait for their hour, even for a day, until a real papa finds them. Number 12. Hemp seed. Ordinary technical hemp, which can be bought at the bird market or in bags for bird food. When boiling, the seeds open, releasing white sprouts and a huge amount of oil. A carp senses this oil from 50-70 meters away. If you throw a couple of handfuls of hemp into the fishing spot, the fish will literally dig the bottom for hours, trying to collect every seed. This is the best way to keep a school in place without satiating it. Number 13. Feed corn. Horsetooth. The very one that collective farms grow for silage. It is larger, harder, and dozens of times cheaper than canned corn. Soak it for a day, boil it for half an hour, and you have the perfect bait for river carp, which will not fly off in a strong current, and which roach will not nibble away. Number 14. Pellets for fish farms. This is the compound feed that carp and trout are fed in fish nurseries before being released into your lakes. Fish remember this taste on a genetic level. Why pay for carp pellets in a bright pack when you can buy a bag of K111 compound feed at any flour mill? The effect will be the same, and the price 20 times lower. Number 15. The boilie itself. but with one important caveat. Boilies work, that's a fact. But in pressured waters, a standard 20 mm ball works like a scarecrow. If you want to catch, downsize. Switch to 10 to 12 milliliters, choose natural fish smells instead of fruit ones, and use them selectively. Do not feed with buckets, as the advertisement wants. Number 16. Pop-up, a floating boilie. The secret of its success is in anatomy. A carp's mouth is directed downwards. It picks up food from the bottom. But when your bait is raised 5 centimeters above the bottom, it ends up right in front of its eyes. This is a visual trigger that forces the fish to make an impulsive attack. A bright pink or orange ball over a carpet of dark ground bait is a classic trap that works even when the fish is moody. Remember, a large carp is a wise creature. A 15-year-old mirror carp weighing under 20 kilograms could have been caught and released 5 or 6 times in its life. Each such encounter leaves a mark in its memory. It remembers the shape, color, and smell of danger. Therefore, your task is to constantly change the rules of the game. 1 week we catch on corn, 1 week on tiger nut, then we switch to bread, and in the height of summer to marshmallows. Do not let the fish get used to a pattern. The industry wants you to be predictable consumers. We want you to be unpredictable hunters. Ahead of us is the final 4 of the most powerful baits and a summary of the budget. If you buy our entire list, you will spend less than 5,000 rubles and provide yourself with bait for the entire season, leaving behind all the fashionistas with their expensive plastic. Knowledge is your main tackle. Stay with me, because next we will analyze what professional athletes hide. Now let's return to the base, about which modern carp fishers in funny caps prefer to keep quiet. Number 17. Ordinary night crawler. An earthworm dug up at age 8 behind Grandma's shed in a village near Poltava or Voronezh. Look at this beast. Most current anglers would be ashamed to put a box of worms in their bag from an elite brand. This is considered amateurish, the lot of grandfathers with bamboo rods. But here is the naked truth. A bunch of fat night crawlers cast into the coastal zone under a hanging willow. This is the most natural presentation a carp can encounter. In the muddy water of rivers like the Kuban or Terek, where visibility does not exceed 30 centimeters, the movement of the worm creates low-frequency vibrations that the fish's lateral line picks up from several meters away. The worm releases specific amino acids that are imprinted in the genetic memory of the carp as a safe protein. 3 night crawlers on a hook cost 30 rubles. They will outfish a boilie for 1,500 in 9 cases out of 10, especially after a heavy downpour when water streams wash natural food into the river. This is not just a bait, it is a biological weapon tested for centuries. Number 18. Maggot, fly larva. In the West, they are called maggots, but the essence is the same. Tournament anglers have been winning championships on the Don and Dnieper exactly on maggots for 40 years. Why? Movement. No static can compare with a squirming ball of larvae. But there is a scientific secret that ichthyologists are silent about. Cyprinid fish see in the ultraviolet spectrum. A living maggot reflects ultraviolet light quite differently than a dead bait. For a carp, this ball literally glows on the bottom like a neon sign for free food. And if you add maggots to a PVA bag along with crushed pellets, you will create a spot that will blow the fish's mind. Number 19. Shrimp. Ordinary frozen shrimp from the nearest grocery store. This is exactly the bait that the fishing food industry would prefer to forget forever. A bag of shrimp costs 500 rubles, and there are 50 ideal hook baits. Each shrimp is a concentrate of glycine and alanine. These are exactly the amino acids that trigger the aggressive feeding mode in carp. In the wild lakes of Siberia or Kazakhstan, Where fish never saw seafood, they react to them instantly. Why? Because the chemical signal of a shrimp is identical to the signal of a large river crayfish during the molting period. And a crayfish for a carp is like a ribeye steak for a person. It is the highest form of protein. A large old carp cannot resist this smell because its instincts are stronger than marketing fairy tales. And finally, number 20. Artificial corn and plastic. You will say, we just spent half an hour talking about natural food. Why do we need plastic? Answer: strategy. In waters where the bottom is teeming with small roach, crayfish, or crucian carp, any natural bait will be destroyed in 5 minutes. You will sit with an empty hook and wait for a run that won't happen. Plastic corn soaked in a dip of natural brine is the perfect trap. Small fry won't gnaw it. Crayfish won't drag it away. It will wait for that very moment when the real master approaches the ground bait spot. Now let's stop and calculate. If you buy all 20 positions from our list, your check will be a maximum of 4,000 to 5,000 rubles. This set will last you for 6 months of active fishing. This is less than the cost of 2 packs of designer boilies. So why are the shores packed with people with rods for hundreds of thousands who use the same expensive chemistry? The answer is simple: marketing. For the last 25 years, you have been told that the tackle catches the fish. This is a lie. Understanding catches the fish. A person with a loaf of bread who knows when to go to the shore of a small tributary of the Volga will always outfish a major with a carp camp who stands at the wrong time and in the wrong place. Remember the story from our archive. A retired postman from near Samara has been fishing on the same lake since 1981. He has 2 old Neva reels and bamboo sticks. He uses only boiled corn and breadcrumb with garlic. His personal record is a carp of 18 kilos. While advanced guys leave this lake empty, complaining about bad weather and wrong pressure, science explains it simply. The more complex the composition of your bait, the more chemical markers in it that can scare the fish. A natural product is the absence of fear. Let's dig even deeper into biology, into what we call olfactory intelligence. Did you know that carp are capable of sensing the pH of water? Any change in acidity at the fishing spot is a signal. An expensive boilie often changes the pH too sharply, creating a chemical burn in the fish's receptors. Natural bread or a worm changes the environment smoothly, naturally. It's like the difference between cheap cologne and the smell of a fresh forest. Most of the grandfatherly advice that modern bloggers laugh at has a solid scientific basis. When a grandfather said to add unrefined oil to the porridge, he didn't know the word lipids, but he knew that an oil spot carries the aroma to the upper layers of the water, attracting fish from afar. When they tell you that fish need variety, it doesn't mean they are bored. It means that their receptors are clogged with the same signal. The constant rotation of baits that I am talking about is a way to trick the adaptation system. We live in an era of pressure. On every lake on weekends, there are 100 people. Fish in such conditions evolve faster than we think. They learn to associate the smell of strawberry flavoring with the pain from the hook. But they will never learn to fear the smell of earth, corn, or bread, because it is part of their world. That is why I have prepared material for you that will overturn your idea of night fishing. This is not just a list, it is a survival tactic on the shore. Most guys will never understand this. They will continue to buy the same boilies, use the same rigs, and wonder why the fish stopped biting. You should not be among them. In the next part, I will reveal the 3 main secrets of night hunting, which allow you to pull out giants where others see only empty water. We will analyze errors in the rig that cost you trophies, and I will show you how to prepare trash baits so that they work 10 times more effectively than store-bought ones. Wait, because the real heat will start next. Now we have come to the most important thing, to how to turn ordinary products from the supermarket into a professional weapon that will make the fish forget about caution. Listen carefully. Buying a can of corn or a bag of nuts is only half the battle. If you just dump them in the water, you will be like everyone else. But we are not here for that. We are here to hack the system. The secret of most garbage baits lies in one word: fermentation. Remember how fresh kvass or homemade dough smells. This is the smell of fermentation, the smell of sugar breakdown. For carp, wild carp, and grass carp, this aroma is like a signal of a powerful energy source. When the grain begins to ferment, it releases lactic acid and alcohols. In water, these compounds spread faster than any synthetic flavorings. Take our number 11, tiger nut. If you buy it in the health food department and just throw it in the water, you will commit a crime. Unprocessed nuts are dangerous for fish. They are not digested and can literally kill a carp. To make it a catching machine, it must be soaked for 48 hours and then boiled for 40 minutes over high heat. But here is a hack from the pros. After boiling, leave it in the same water, add a couple of spoons of sugar, and forget about it in a warm place for another 2 days. When the water turns into a thick, viscous jelly with the smell of old wine, you have received the best bait in the world. This syrup is a pure concentrate of attractants. No chemist in a laboratory will create anything better than nature. Now about the corn, our number 13. Feed grain, which is sold by the bucket in the markets of Krasnodar, Rostov, or Almaty. This is not that delicate dessert corn from a can. This is armor. Its secret is that it stands on the spot for days. If you fish on large rivers, the Volga, Dnieper, Sirdaria, you need a lot of food to stop a passing school. And this food should be cheap. But the grandfather's method of just boiling often fails. Want a myth-busting tip? Add ordinary baking soda when boiling. 1 spoon per pot. Soda softens the hard shell of the grain, making it porous. Any aroma, whether hemp oil or garlic juice, is instantly absorbed into these pores. You get a bait that smells from the inside, not the outside. This is a time bomb on the bottom. Let's move on to tactics. Many of you ask, why exactly 2:30 a.m.? The answer lies in biology and physics. Remember your fishing trips on reservoirs, Kapchage, Tsimlyansk, or the Kiev Sea. During the day, the water warms up, and oxygen leaves the coastal zone for the depths. At night, an inversion process occurs. The temperature drops, the water is saturated with oxygen, and large fish that stood in the holes all day come out to the tables, shallows with a depth of 1 to 2 meters. This is where our baits work: bread, marshmallows, sausages. At night, the fish relies on smell and the lateral line. It doesn't need color, it needs a chemical trail. Let's debunk the myth about strong smells. There is an opinion that the more stink you pour into the porridge, the better. This is a mistake that ruins 90% of fishing trips on wild waters. In the cold water of small rivers in Belarus or the Urals, flavor molecules move slowly. If you overdo it with the concentration, you will create a chemical burn zone around the hook. The fish will approach, feel a sharp blow to the receptors, and leave. Our kitchen baits work differently. Bread or cheese gives off a smell gradually. This is a natural background. It's not a shout. It's a whisper that the fish listens to. Now about the mounting. How to hook that same sausage or piece of ham so that they don't fly off when casting 50 meters. Forget about hooking directly on the hook. Only a hair rig. But instead of a standard stopper, use a twig or a piece of the same corn. This will increase the support area. For marshmallows, use a thin hair and a hook with a wide gape. This bait is so light that it should literally hover over the bottom. Imagine an underwater landscape: silt, debris, fallen leaves. And over all this cloud hovers a snow-white sweet piece. A carp will not be able to pass by. It is against its nature. Let's talk about the psychological barrier. Why do men who have been going fishing for 40 years still buy secret drops from resellers? Because we all want to believe in a miracle. We want to believe that there is one magic pill that will make the fish bite in a toilet. But the truth is that the miracle is your knowledge. The industry sells you confidence, not a catch. You buy a jar of Boilies for 2,000 rubles and feel like a professional. But professionalism is when you understand that in this particular river, at this atmospheric pressure, and a water temperature of 14 degrees, a carp will look not for strawberries, but for animal protein. And then you take out a bag of cat food or a bag of shrimp. By the way, about pressure. Another myth: at low pressure, the fish does not bite. It bites, and how? It just changes the horizon. When the pressure drops, the gases in the swim bladder expand, and the fish becomes uncomfortable at depth. It rises higher or goes to shallower areas. And here our number 2 comes into play. White bread, a crust of bread on the surface or in mid-water at low pressure, is a bingo. While everyone else is sitting on the bottom waiting for a bite that won't happen, you are skimming the cream from the surface. You know what's most interesting? Fishing companies closely monitor such strange baits. As soon as some kitchen ingredient becomes popular, they immediately release its professional version. This happened with tiger nuts. It happened with halibut pellets. Tomorrow they will pack marshmallows in a pack with a logo and raise the price 10 times. Don't fall for it. Your strength is that you can go into any village store and assemble a set that will tear up any reservoir. Fishing is not a sport for the rich. It is an intellectual duel, and I will teach you how to win it. See you on the water. If this story changed the way you look at the common items in your pantry, please subscribe and like the channel. We are unearthing the history and the secrets they tried to bury. Plant the seeds of the future. The next treasure will be revealed soon.